In 1921, there existed an enclave in Tulsa, Oklahoma known as the Greenwood community. It was a hub for over 11,000 individuals and was celebrated as a focal point of African American culture and prosperity. Greenwood wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a bustling community brimming with possibilities and accomplishments. Picture yourself strolling along Greenwood Avenue in 1921. You'd encounter an array of establishments owned and operated by entrepreneurs. There were grocery stores where families shopped for their essentials, restaurants where people gathered for meals, and offices belonging to doctors and lawyers. There were also splendid homes where affluent black families resided. Greenwood had 108 black-owned businesses. It also had 2 schools and multiple medical clinics to ensure the well-being of the community. This was quite exceptional for its time because in most areas within North America, black individuals faced multiple restrictions, which wasn't just limited to owning businesses or securing decent employment. Greenwood's prosperity was gathering national attention, and so much so that the renowned educator Booker T. Washington came to the town for a visit. He was truly impressed by the thriving businesses and prosperity in the area. It reminded him of the District of Wall Street in New York City, which was renowned for its banks and affluent entrepreneurs. However, what made this thriving community unique was that it was established by black people, so he affectionately called it the Black Wall Street, and the name stuck out and rang. To grasp why Greenwood held significance, we must consider the context of segregation. During the 1920s, discriminatory laws enforced segregation between white and black individuals. These laws, known as Jim Crow laws, prohibited black people from patronizing white-owned establishments such as stores or entertainment venues. Faced with these regulations, the residents of Greenwood took matters into their own hands by establishing a self-sufficient neighborhood. They built their shops, eateries, theaters, and schools within their community. This ensured that the money earned by residents circulated within their neighborhood, fostering growth and prosperity. Greenwood became a place where black individuals could pursue their aspirations freely and launch a variety of businesses. For example, if a young individual aspired to pursue a career in medicine or law, there were numerous examples residing in the community for them to shadow within their community. It cannot be understated how having this kind of access fueled generations of future professionals in all types of fields. It was commonplace to be considered somebody of relevance. The narrative of Black Wall Street predates the events of 1921. During the 1830s, Oklahoma became a sanctuary for marginalized groups who sought refuge where they were not accepted elsewhere in America. For African Americans, Oklahoma represented a land of promise, a land offering prospects for a better future. Prior to achieving statehood, Oklahoma was situated on what was referred to as the frontier, where only a few people resided at the time. As settlers ventured westward in search of a home, Native American communities were compelled by the U.S. government to relocate to the land which would become Oklahoma. This became known as the Trail of Tears, which resulted in significant loss of life along its path. Many African Americans accompanied these migrations, and most were formerly enslaved by the original natives of that land. Following the abolition of slavery after the Civil War in 1865, many blacks in the region made Oklahoma their home. The black population in Oklahoma experienced significant growth, and in 1890 there were 3,000 residents in the region. By 1900 that number had surged to over 55,000. There were over 25 established all-black towns by 1907, and they were able to self-govern and construct their communities with minimal interference. Tulsa was among the cities where black settlers flocked to the most, and by 1920 over 100,000 people called Tulsa home. This surge in population brought wealth to Tulsa. Surprisingly, many of the residents became wealthy because of the oil wells on their land, and the whole community benefited from it. During the growth of Tulsa, the adjacent black community flourished as well. The establishment of Black Wall Street began with a grocery store at the intersection of Greenwood Avenue and Archer Street in 1905. As time passed, Greenwood blossomed into a hub of culture and commerce within Tulsa. By 1921, Greenwood had evolved into a place brimming with opportunities.
Were prevalent and forced the affluent blacks of Greenwood to unite in an effort to protect their communities. Racial tension and violence were sweeping across North America, especially from poor whites who migrated from other regions. White supremacist organizations were popping up all over the region. Despite facing these challenges, the residents of Greenwood came together to form a supportive community. They backed each other's businesses and strived to conquer the hurdles they were consistently encountering on a daily basis when they departed from their neighborhood. These mounting tensions eventually culminated in an event that would leave a mark on Greenwood. The catalyst for the ensuing violence occurred on May 30th, 1921, when a young black man named Dick Rowland found himself in an incident with a white woman named Sarah Page while riding an elevator in downtown Tulsa. The specifics of what transpired within that elevator remain unclear, but Rowland was accused of assaulting Page. The following day, Rowland's arrest was sensationalized by local media coverage with disparaging headlines. The coverage escalated because of the nature of the charges. Large groups of black people gathered outside of the courthouse where he was being detained, and there were threats of a planned lynching. Upon learning of the threat, a large group of veterans from World War I headed to the courthouse to offer protection for Rowland. They proposed assisting the sheriff in safeguarding the premises and were reassured by the sheriff that Rowland would be secure if the crowd of black men left the scene. Despite their departure, the white crowd continued to swell in size. That evening, another contingent of armed black men returned to the courthouse. An altercation ensued between one man and a white individual, which resulted in gunfire and sparked a riot. What followed was a calamity as white mobs rampaged through Greenwood over the next 17 hours. They ransacked homes and looted businesses before setting buildings on fire. Many black residents suffered injuries and lost their lives while attempting to defend their possessions and themselves. Many survivors recounted witnessing airplanes flying above Greenwood, dropping firebombs on buildings. Although many historians have debated this account, it vividly illustrates the chaos and fear experienced by the people of Greenwood during that time. As the violence escalated, numerous black residents fled their homes in search of safety. Some bravely fought back to protect their community despite being outnumbered by mobs, who were at times aided by police officers who should have intervened to prevent the unrest. The State National Guard was eventually deployed to quell the riot, but not before much of Greenwood lay in ruins. The prosperous enclave known as Black Wall Street had been reduced to rubble. Once the smoke cleared, the devastation that was handed down in Greenwood was profound. 35 blocks of the neighborhood had been burned to the ground. Beyond material losses, the human toll was more tragic. While debate surrounds the death toll, it is believed that up to 300 individuals perished during the riot. After the riot, many residents of Tulsa were housed in detention centers for days before returning to find their homes and businesses destroyed. The devastation was immense, with families losing everything they owned. Despite the hardships, the people of Greenwood were determined to restore their community. The American Red Cross stepped in to provide support such as food, tents, and supplies. Residents lived in these shelters for months while rebuilding their lives. Reconstruction efforts faced challenges as Tulsa authorities tried to impose regulations that would hinder black residents from rebuilding in Greenwood. However, the community fought back with support from various lawyers who successfully challenged these restrictions in court. Through perseverance and unity, Greenwood gradually rose from the ashes, with much of the neighborhood reconstructed within 5 years. Greenwood remained a hub of community and commerce in Tulsa during the 1950s and 1960s. It never fully recovered from the devastation of 1921. The loss of savings and property made it challenging for many families to rebuild their wealth. Additionally, lingering memories of the violence deterred some from reinvesting in the area. For years, the events of Greenwood were seldom discussed in Tulsa, in schools or history books. However, the black community has kept the memory alive of Black Wall Street for generations. Over time, Tulsa began to confront this dark chapter in its past. In 1997, the commission was established by the Oklahoma State Legislature to investigate the riot. The resulting report in 2001 helped shed light on the events of the Tulsa Race Riots. In 2010, John Hope Franklin Reconciliation Park opened in Tulsa as a tribute to those affected by the riot and as a symbol of unity between races. The tale of Greenwood and the Tulsa Race Massacre teaches us many lessons. It reveals the impact of racism and how it can escalate into violence. It underscores the power of united communities that lend each other support. It exemplifies the resilience of individuals who persisted in the face of tragedy. Today, individuals in Tulsa and worldwide are striving to comprehend this chapter in history. By delving into the events of the past, we can strive towards shaping a future for all. The narrative of Black Wall Street and its ascent, its devastation, and the efforts towards reconstruction are significant in history. It showcases both the accomplishments when everyone is afforded chances and the dreadful outcomes of racism and brutality. By honoring this history through remembrance and learning, we can move closer to a world where all communities can prosper and that race riots within communities are not repeated.